So now let's see if I can find a top screen for this motherboard. Which really means I just need to separate the bottom screen and then just start sorting through top screens that I have kicking around, see what I can find. It's one of my least favorite things to do, as it is entirely subjective. And if I don't pay extra close attention, I could pair screens that aren't really well compatible, only to find out much later that the differences are significant enough that I have to pull the console apart again and look for another screen. This is my tester motherboard. I'll just keep the top screen and camera connected for now. All I needed is this. Grab my tester components. I'll just grab a tester motherboard. I don't want to accidentally mix it with the motherboard that I originally had selected for that Burgundy console. And since I usually, I'm going to try and do this in reverse instead. I'm going to pick out a top screen and then look for bottom screens. I never liked plugging in I don't like plugging in top screens more than I need to, because the amount of stress I need to put on the ribbon cable to actually put it into the connector is far greater than that of the bottom screen. Which usually means I end up damaging the ribbon cable over time because it just gets fatigued. So I will just keep this one on hand, but I need to just pick out a top screen. I don't know if I have any top screens that are still... One that's mild yellow. Okay, I have a few here. I have a very warm. And one where I replace the backlight. I don't know how up to I am to trying out an experimental screen right now. So I'm going to look for one that has a bad lens that I need to replace, but is otherwise a good screen. This screen has been in a console. I wrapped it with Kapton tape at one point. Wonder why. This may have been one of those cases where I put the console together and found out that no, the screen doesn't really match. Okay, well, let's see if I can find it a partner. In order to get this thing fully seated, I have to kind of push on it. Sometimes a little harder than I would like. And that will sometimes fold that cable down. Ending it up fatiguing it. One of the speaker wires broke off. That's really not that big of a deal. Did I have any markings on this screen? I don't know if I did or not. If I had a estimated color temperature on it. No notes. How exciting. I usually try to put an approximate color temperature on them so I can pair screens off a little easier. But considering the amount of factors that I really can't consider, such as motherboard and calibration, it's a good rough estimate, but it's not very accurate. I mean, you can kind of see it. Bottom screen is definitely a lot. It's a different, probably more red. I did mark this as cool, but I would say this top screen's far whiter. There's a good scratch right there, so I do have to swap this lens. I'm just gonna put a big X on it, just so I know from the future that that's a bad lens. Yeah, and kind of like I was saying, this is why I don't really like doing this. It's really hard to sort of verbalize what I'm seeing. All I know is that they're different. It almost looks like this bottom screen is a little more red than the top, but sort of goes against my markings. So I think I'm looking for really cool screens then. Let's see what I have. I'll look in my screens that have good digitizers. This one's labeled as cool. We'll see. Then I'll also have to run an image retention test on it, just to make sure none of these screens are faulty. Ooh, it's definitely a lot more blue than the top screen. A lot more blue. You can very much make that out. Huh, power button doesn't work. That's weird. Not super important. That's a problem for later. This is a tester board, so it having quirks is not too important. Let's see what I got. So I have a warm, cool yellow on bottom. This actually might be a little more close to what I want. So I'll just go through them one at a time. Because even a slight amount of yellowing isn't really bad in its own. But it does change the color temperature of a screen, or at least the appearance of it. This one's also really blue. Yeah, and I guess I see a little bit of yellowing in the corners, but I would say it's not that bad. I guess I would consider this top screen warm then, if my naming convention is to go off of, the opposite of cool would be warm. Warm is, I usually interpret that as just having more red, having a stronger red channel, or more red in the RBG or RGB spectrum, where those bottom screens are definitely a lot more blue on that spectrum, just based on how they were calibrated. Ooh, this bottom screen is definitely yellowed. Okay. I don't think I noted that. Cool, blue, blue, cool, cool. I'll just check them all. Because having one with a good digitizer would be very handy, so I don't have to replace the digitizer. I hopefully intend on selling screens separately. How I'm going to sort of relay color profiles is going to be very hard. That one's definitely a lot bluer. Yeah, going the blue route might not be very good, or it's not going to be very productive for me. But I still would like to check them. Just to make sure if this motherboard, for instance, is maybe pushing power differently. I guess I can't really say how I understand how the colors are generated on these consoles. I don't think I've particularly noticed a grand difference between motherboard to motherboard, but I would almost say that's more red than blue. Same story. At least my naming convention is somewhat accurate. Ooh, look at that. And I'm soft resetting it. You know what? Let me do an image retention test. I'm wondering if this one's bad. I see it flickering. So for my image retention test, I go with the DSi sounds, and then I just leave it. It's flickering pretty bad. Wow. I'll leave it on this screen. Yeah, my camera isn't picking it up, but it's flickering really bad. I'll leave it on this screen for a couple minutes. Then I'll go over the DSi settings. From there, if I make out any of these on-screen assets in the DSi settings menu, then there is screen retention, which is to my current understanding, is a sign that the screen is failing. Still flickering pretty good. What I might do is unplug the ribbon cable and clean the contacts. I did touch it. I really don't think my hand oils would be enough to kill the display. But I suppose there's a first time for everything. All right, let's see what I see. I mean, it's flickering pretty bad. And other than this, like, weird stepping when it soft resets. At least in practice, it looks good. Unfortunately, the flickering is not something I've been able to really diagnose, or really been able to pin a cause to. But I noticed it aggressively with this screen, so I'm wondering if there's, or with this bottom screen in particular, so I wonder if there's some sort of correlation between how these screens are calibrated, if for some reason... Yeah, it's doing it again. If there's some sort of confliction. Maybe the bottom screen is pulling more power than other bottom screens? Doesn't necessarily make that much sense. Otherwise, that screen didn't really match anyway. It is still flickering a little. It still has that like checkerboard-ish. Never seen it soft reset like this, where there's like very jagged rows. Image retention test would tell me that the screen has no indications of failure, but these screens actually match fairly well. Let me go into a dark room and look at them. Nah. I would say this bottom screen is still a little too cool, or a little too blue. A little more noticeable in the dark. Alright, so none of my good or my digitizer screens work. Well, I actually don't think I tried this one. It was over with my top screens. Oh, yep, that's a no. Why do we even use this screen anymore? It needs to go away. Alright. Grab a stack of LCDs with bad digitizers. I mean a stack. I haven't really properly identified what temperature I want for the top screen. I think it is warm. Oh, I think this is the one that's a digitizer that doesn't really fit. I don't really know how that worked out. If it was for a different DS console or something. I don't know. It just doesn't fit inside shells really good. So I just opted to replace it. It's like weirdly too big. Ooh. Let me check this one in a dark room. I think I found a winner. I think it is very slightly blue. A little bluer than the bottom screen. But it's sort of within a range that I'm okay with. Because there are a lot of cases I could spend hours going through every single screen trying to find the absolute perfect one. Fatiguing my cables more than I need to. Never finding the perfect one because I have spent hours going through screen after screen after screen after screen trying to find the perfect one, but so I kind of opt on if it's close enough that I don't think it's that big of a deal, or I maybe just have to mention that, it's slightly more blue but not shouldn't be distracting enough to warrant a replacement. Depending on how sensitive you are to color, of course. So let me run an image retention test now, just to make sure that the bottom screen is good. I actually didn't need to put that in. I don't know why I did that. And then while it's sitting on this screen, I'm going to go grab more water. If it wants to sit on this screen, I wonder if I dislodged the Wi-Fi card or something. There it goes. All right. Be right back. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything. I think we're good. Very good. Let's put all my tester components away. And I suppose I have no reason to not install this top screen. Get this top screen separated, which will mean disassembling the whole thing. Hooray. Actually, hooray. I don't mind doing this part. A lot better than matching screens. Make some space. Ah. Let's put these on my other desk. I mean, I guess I should have expected that. Take out all the buttons before I launch them. Add a note to yellow. will have to turn back on my solder iron to get that one speaker cable. And so I don't launch these everywhere, I'll take them out. All right. Now this little ring sort of protects the ribbon cable. It needs to be attached to the top shell. That doesn't interfere when I'm taking out this ribbon cable. Jam it into the slot. That's part way. Roll it up. Stuff it in enough to hold its shape. Voila. Set that screen aside. Let me take care of this speaker before I do too much here. So let's see. We have the speaker. Here's my afflicted one. Gotta make sure it's not gonna be like knotted up. I think if I do this, there we go. Just a touch of solder flux. Just flux should do it. There we go. That's all that was needed. Here it is. Reassembly time. I need this piece. Now the fun part is getting it back through the hinge. I find that a bobby pin does pretty good, as long as you're careful. Especially since I can slide the ring over the bobby pin. And do that. Voila! That went very smoothly. Both speakers on this side of the screen. Don't like jostling it too much while it's in like this. I'll replace the lens later, as it's much easier to do when it's assembled like this anyway. And it is a little easier to get into the bottom shell right now, as I don't have to worry about the Wi-Fi antenna and the microphone cable getting kind of bound up. Oh, hello. There we go. The tip of my pick is a little bent. Maybe time to get some new ones. Alright, that's actuating nicely. Let me get the microphone in, so then I can sort of wrap up the, or I can secure the camera. Almost put them in backwards. Alright. Now for cable routing. No necessarily right way to do this. Actually, I kind of liked it going the other way. There we go. Get the Wi-Fi antenna in. With how it's bent, it can kind of get caught up here in the shell. Or get caught up in the ribbon cables, I mean. Sometimes I just have to grab the little connector end and yank it through. Like that. Voila. That is an upper assembly put together. So now with whatever little adhesive is left on this camera, stick it to the glossy shell. Everything's slid together. Go ahead and put the screws back in. Wow, that's a little counterproductive actually. I needed that. Like that. Ugh. Get the buttons back in. Okay, I'll see if this thing still doesn't fit. Oh, looks like it does. Well, not really. Yeah, so what it's doing is it's pushing on the other side of the shell piece, bowing the shell. I don't know if I have the courage to do this right now, but I want this digitizer to go away forever. This came in on one of my junk consoles, so I don't know exactly what the story was. But it looks like I tried reusing it because the adhesive on it is very good. Ooh. Now the fun part of trying to make this spotless. Don't like it when I do that. think that's pretty good. This is the back side of it. Based on screen orientation. Should be going like this. Okay. Awesome. Look at that. I don't see anything under there. Good fit. I'll put a bezel on it later. So what I'm going to do is put my board back in there. This is the board, the Japanese board, as I'm still wanting to test it. Hopefully one more round of testing should be enough, and then I can put it on get it in the area to where I can put it on the market. Haven't quite developed the resources to sell motherboards yet. I'll wipe off all these ribbon cables with a little bit of rubbing alcohol because I've been sort of manhandling them. Give them a second to dry. I notice on these third-party digitizers, the ribbon is off by like just a couple millimeters. So it takes a little more persuasion to get into the connector, as it's not exactly lined up. And it's not due to me incorrectly placing the digitizer. That's just how it is. Which, I mean, this is one of the two gripes I have with this digitizer. Other than that, these third-party digitizers have been pretty good to me. There we go. I just gotta kind of corkscrew it a little. Nothing crazy, won't harm it, but almost forgot these. All right. Time to get all these screws in. top screen in... Alright, moment of truth. Before I put it together, I'll just make sure. Bad juju to put something fully together without testing it. Ah, it still turns back on. I feel like I've gotten good enough at this that it would be very unusual for me to bung up something. Not to say it doesn't happen, but it's far less likely. Ooh, this battery has some damage on it. I wonder if I did that. I need to look at that under a microscope, actually. I might not be able to use this battery. It might just be the sticker is damaged, which in that case it's irrelevant. Wonder how this happened. I don't think it was my doing. But it doesn't look punctured, it just looks a little... Hold it up as close as I can. It's like it just took a nick. That's a pretty good one, too. Well, that's unfortunate. I guess I got myself a new tester battery. So let me peel this off and kind of cut it, and then I'll cover it in Captain tape. And hopefully it doesn't spontaneously combust and burn the house down. I don't think it's that bad, but I'm not going to sell a console with this in it. I mean, I'm touching it with metal utensils and it's not arcing on them. If a battery would even be able to do that. But thankfully I have a lot of other OEM batteries I can use. So I'll use that one instead. And hopefully this one will not cause any problemos. Okie dokie. I think that will be it for this. I just need to update the notes I have on this Burgundy console. This one had paperwork with it, but I decided to scrap it. So I think I'm just going to redo this paperwork, as now that I have new screens in it, a lot of the base level assessments are now different. Okay, the notes I have here, cross that out, backlight changed, I'm just gonna swap that out, both screens swapped. And I'll know pretty quickly that that's a new digitizer. But testing should be pretty easy on that if I've already cleared the motherboard. So I think that's all I'm going to do on this console. One more round of testing on the motherboard. And I should be able to put that motherboard in a to sell pile for when I get a listing up for selling motherboards. So yeah, cool.